for the brother battle character that you have.
I have to find a picture of a brother battle. That's the thing.
Can I change it to just this game, or?
Yeah, you can change it, anytime you want. So, I see what you're saying. Can you change it to where we'll only change it for this game and not change your Roll20?
Mhm.
That I don't know how to do. Blaine, do you know how to do that?
No.
Okay. What I did is I just changed my profile, and I figured I'll change it back for
Okay.
our
Okay.
settings.
All right.
Unless you want Homer to be Noelani.
Well, Homer is me.
Homer is you.
All right.
Recording is on, and we are live. So, Andrew, if you would want to do the thing.
What is Andrew doing now?
I think he said
He
he
was
going
going
to
to-
tweet that we were live.
Oh.
Okay, we can give it just a moment for other people to be popping in. Hopefully a few more will pop in a moment. And
Exactly.
then we will begin with the introductions and then go through what we did for character creation.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Looks like we've got 10 people watching now.
Nice.
Of course, we're probably 5 of them.
A little bit, yes.
All right, so everybody has a pretty good idea how their character is going to work, correct?
That's interesting. It didn't seem to change my profile picture for anybody else except me.
Did you restart? Sometimes you have to restart it to change something.
I might need to reload it.
Oh, that's probably what it is. Probably plain. Yeah, because I had done it a while
Yeah,
back.
there it is.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Robert Bishop. I'm the game master for this game. I have been running role-playing games since 1977. I've been running Fading Sun since the first edition came out. I started my first campaign when we only had the core book for first edition. I currently run a second edition game with this same group on Saturday nights. We are almost to a year in that game. We are going to be previewing a campaign with the 4th edition rules here. And I will, I was a little bit older than 2. I will go ahead and let my players introduce themselves. Let's start with Loren.
All right. My name is Loren, and I have been role-playing, I guess, since I was in middle school. But I didn't start serious role-playing until I started gaming online with play-by-post playing, like on sites like rpol.net and other similar sites. Fading Suns has been my favorite game since it first came out in 1996. I got it for my 16th birthday. And it's been difficult to find groups for, but I have high hopes for the new edition attracting new blood. So we'll see how that goes.
And what will you be playing?
My character is going to be a yeoman who calls himself a reclaimer, but secretly he's actually a thief. So that's not that's out of character information, but this group is experienced enough to be able to handle that kind of thing. So
All right.
and then I'll go over to Blaine.
All right. My name is Blaine. I think I might be this group's baby at the tiny, tiny, precious age of 35. I have been role-playing only since about 2002 because I grew up in a house where, D&D was from Satan. But I do love role-playing. I have loved Fading Suns from afar since the early 2000s. But unfortunately, the game that we play on Saturdays with this group was my first ever shot at playing in it. So I will be here to represent those who don't know the setting very well, who may be in the stream.
And what will you be playing?
My character is Sir Von, which Von is short for Vongangekan. He is a Vorox, and for those who don't know, Vorox are huge, six-limbed, furry, fang-mouthed monstrosities from the planet of Ungavorox. Most people believe that they are extremely feral, could never be civilized. Some of the Vorox have become more civilized over time. He is one of the ones who is, let's just say, strongly embracing civility. And I will go to Adi next.
Okay. I've been playing. My name is Adi. I've been playing role-playing games since about when Blaine was born, for the past 35 years. I've played Fading Suns once or twice before, but never seriously, never a long campaign. And our Saturday campaign is my first serious one. Hopefully, this will be the next serious campaign. I'm playing Noelani, which is an Ur-Obun female. She is an engineer and a pirate.
I will probably stumble over that name often.
Well, you can call her Quicksilver. That's
Yes.
what most people call her.
And for the record, our Saturday night game has gone on for almost a year now. And there are YouTube videos posted, which we will get a link for. Felipe.
I'm Felipe. I'm 38 years old, and I've been playing since I'm 12. I've stumbled across Fading Suns when there was this email about a game that would be on the setting, and I started researching, and I found that there was an RPG, and it was just amazing what I found, and as Loren, I fell in love with the system, and I've been playing it since, and whenever I can. And I'll be playing a brother battle, which is sort of a warrior monk for the faith. He protects the faithful and the church.
Oh yeah, I think Addy, you forgot to mention who you'll be playing.
No, he did.
Oh,
Because I mentioned I would be stumbling over that name.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. Character creation in 4th edition has changed a little bit. It's basically gone to the life path setting, and it really looks like it's geared for younger starting characters, the up-and-coming new characters. And I want to have my players go through and kind of tell you a little bit about what they went through making their characters through the life path system, which actually Loren used the custom character creation instead of life path, so he can give us a counterpoint on that. So Felipe, if you would start with your character and kind of what you went through to make him.
I chose a brother battle because I always liked the idea that someone would have protect something, even though it was not necessarily martially, but actually just imposing himself, right? So when I started to create the character, I wanted someone to be at the same time as imposing, like someone that show strength, but as was some at the same time someone that would be kind of hard, right? Through the character creation, it was the system is pretty new, and it's pretty straightforward for brother battles because you just have to go through each step for the brother battles instead of the other path creations where you have to choose from multiple
options.
Thank you. Multiple options, and brother battles pretty straightforward, and it was easier, I guess, than the other ones that I saw that were struggling a little bit with their options and how to choose them.
Okay. Was there anything in the character creation that you found hard?
Yes, I think it's for me. It's hard to understand where to place the resistances and how they would work, and how would be the initial values for general statistics. I know that everything's on 3, but it only found out about that when I read the traits section, not
Yes.
the character section. So I had to flip between books, let's say, so I can get the information right.
Well, we don't. All this will be in a single book when it's put out. We have individual files for the different sections. And when it comes to resistances and such, we'll be discussing that after character creation when we get to the general rules. Adi, how did character creation go for you with your character?
Okay, the first thing that I wanted to make was basically come up with a concept. I wanted to play an engineer. That I knew from the get-go. But I didn't want a character that was just an engineer and nothing else. So I decided to spice things up by saying that the character wasn't just an engineer, but she was an engineer on a pirate ship. I also added the choice of race and the optional rule of raised in space. The character wasn't raised on a planet. She grew up in a pirate base in the asteroid belt. So there are little quirks that demonstrate different parts of the rules and how they changed, giving the options.
Okay, did you decide what system the pirate base was in, or are we still leaving
Yeah.
that kind of open?
I personally liked the Stakir system.
Okay. Were there any parts of character creation that gave you trouble?
There are a lot of choices, and you need. Nothing gave me trouble. It's a very flexible system that you can basically can do whatever you want with it. You can play with it, and if we'll look at Felipe's example, he chose the straightforward path of a brother battle.
Yes.
But he could have easily chosen a path of a brother of battle who had a fallout with the church and is now also a pirate. And the whole system allows you to customize your character. Personally, I find that very appealing.
Okay. And Blaine, how did you go through with the character creation?
Well, I started from I started very early with when we were first starting the other game. I was torn between 2 concepts. One of them was the character that I'm playing there, more or less, and the other one being some kind of engineer. And so when I first sat down, I was like, I think I'll play an engineer. And then we got talking about it, and we got into the material. And I was reminded, more or less by the part of my brain that always speaks up at this point during character creation, to say, hey, you like playing non-humans. Maybe you should be an alien. And I was like, what if I was like a Vorox engineer? That could be pretty fun. And then I don't even remember exactly where it came about, but we were just joking, and the idea of a Vorox noble who is a little bit more like a human noble, a little bit foppish, a little bit, strangely refined for a Vorox, and also even for some nobles. And it just kind of took off from there. And so when I actually got into the nuts and bolts of the character creation, it was really just like, okay, what can I do to express the idea that this person is less of a monster and more just, what can I do to give this person things that make sense for the backstory that he's got, that's kind of half cooking in my brain, and also that people just aren't going to expect when they see a Vorox.
Now, I think you had the most defined character concept starting out next to Loren. How did the rules go for actually you have a concept and you want to create that?
It was actually pretty easy. Some of the decisions were like the decision of which of the 5 major houses to be affiliated with was ultimately made by which of the houses sort of had the mechanics that made it a little bit easier to be strangely refined and civilized, which turned out to be the al-Malik. Strangely refined and civilized for a Vorox, not for the al-Malik.
Okay, were there any parts of character creation that gave you a problem?
I will echo, I don't think that there are too many choices in the traits section, specifically the, hold on, where's my sheet? Perks. There are a lot of choices that are available to you with perks, and that did provide a little bit of struggle because there were so many things, and I was like, I can handily eliminate some of these, but now I'm torn between a bunch of the rest.
Okay, Loren, how did character creation go for your character?
Well, I tried it actually initially using the character history stages, just to see a good comparison between that and the custom method, because I wanted to get a grasp of both. And so I first tried to create my concept through the character history stages. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't really approximate what I was going for. So then I tried the custom method. Now, I will say that for a yeoman, it's easier to get closer to a concept than for other character types, simply because the upbringing stage of the character history method is the exact same for a custom method as it is for a yeoman. Basically, you choose freely your characteristics and your skills and your capabilities, depending on what makes sense for your background. So that part was easy for both. Apprenticeship is really where I had to sort of decide that I wanted to go custom instead of the available options, simply because I had an idea that didn't quite fit into the existing molds available to players. And then as far as early career, I mostly modeled my custom early career after the thief stage, tweaked it a little bit. But it wasn't too difficult there. I will say that I'm sure that when the edition actually comes out, that it's going to be laid out a lot more clearly and a lot more,
Yes.
easy to follow. So this isn't so much a criticism of the edition, because of course we're going from PDFs that are not in their final stage, I imagine. So
we actually have a PDF for player, for technology, for
Exactly. So there was a
traits.
lot of bouncing around between one PDF and another one. I had encountered the same challenge that Blaine did when it came to choosing perks. I was toggling back between the character PDF and then going to the traits PDF to see if I can find, what each of these perks are so that I could figure out which one I wanted to choose. And then going, to the technology PDF. But
Yes.
again, that's not a criticism of the system because when it comes out, it's just going to be one book.
And hopefully it'll
but-
have an index, which we did not have.
Yes, yeah. Felipe did mention that he really wanted an index, and that's true. That would have helped a lot.
I expect those are things that will get added when they do layout and all of the
Yes.
fun things that make a PDF good.
Yes. Now
Exactly.
I will say that out of our 5 people here, we have 4 time zones and 3 countries represented.
That's right. We've got the U.S., we've got Brazil, and we've got Israel.
Yes.
So, but yeah, overall, I've always liked the life path idea of just modeling a character creation based on stages of their background. I believe that's the right way to go about it, because you do want the character to match up with their experiences, where they came from, the kinds of conditions they grew up in, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there is the final stage, which is sort of this edition's version of the earlier edition's final touches stage, where it's called personalization and equipment, where you do actually get to have one perk without any restrictions whatsoever, just that makes sense for your character. And you have the option of choosing an affliction. I think we all chose to take an affliction.
I believe so.
Because that's more fun, which gives you another perk.
And gives the game master so much stuff to work with.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of afflictions, irrespective of however many points they give you, just simply because they have a lot of potential to give both the players and the game master creative ideas for the story. So,
Now, I will say that one unique thing about the characters in this game is the level system. And in that, there is no experience. You're not going to get experience points in this game. The game master actually determines when people level up. There's a section in the game master book about pacing, and for a slow pace, you may level up every 3 or 4 dramas, whereas at a very high pace, you may level up every drama. But it is totally up to the game master when you level up. So this is going to be interesting because my dramas tend to run long.
well, maybe you can bring up the idea of the partial
Yes,
leveling.
there is partial leveling. Yes, if you have questions, we will try to answer them. As long as I see them. If I don't see them, somebody else in the stream will probably point them out to me or to whoever can answer them. There is the game master does have the option to allow partial leveling, which is, at this point, I'm going to allow everybody in the party to take one piece of what you get at your next level. And actually, in mine, it may be you level in the middle of a drama if they're as long as my other games, considering that's we've had 2 dramas in a year, and the first one was 8 sessions long. Okay. Moving on to the rules, which these guys focused more on the character creation. I focused more on the rules. The victory point system has had a complete overhaul. I played the old system a bit and always struggled with the initiative procedure. Yes, there has been a change regarding the initiative, and I will be going over that in just a moment. The victory point system has had a complete overhaul. You no longer have the certain number of victory points per. Yes, it is per what you rolled, and a certain number of victory dice per what you rolled. From this point forward, what you roll on the die, as long as it is under your goal, is how many victory points you got. Now, conversely to this, you have resistances. Everything has a resistance check, which is basically the difficulty. Yes, I'm going to do my best to explain it in just a moment. But the first thing you have to do with your victory points is pay to overcome the resistance. So if it's a difficult task, which has a 4 resistance, and you roll a 13, you're sitting good. You can also use victory points to, for every 2 victory points, you can increase the amount of damage that you do. One victory point per will increase your resistance if somebody is attacking you. You can spend victory points on a 1-to-1 basis to increase the goal roll of your next roll. I'm sure there's another one that I'm not thinking of right this second, and if I remember it later in the game, I will point it out. Weird is no longer used like it was. It is no longer a character stat. And I will get to the banks in just a moment, because weird and victory points are the same thing. Weird is given by the game master for exceptional things in the game. If somebody does something really, we are probably not going to do the actual tokens. As I read it, the tokens are just a way to not have somebody have to write down the paper every time they change something. So we're going to keep track of our individual points ourselves. I trust my players to be honest. I've played with them long enough to know that they will be. Victory points that you gain, I'll get back to weird in a second. Victory points that you gain on a roll are only last until your next action. And I will get to what you do with those that are left over in a moment after weird. Weird is awarded for crazy stunts, doing something that makes the group laugh, anything that the DM goes, okay, that was great, I'm giving you a weird point. And the weird can be used, you can spend a weird to immediately get 3 victory points. You can spend weird to make your psychic powers more powerful, basically make it easier to well, it cuts the resistance in half to whatever you're affecting. I had to think for a moment. Now, if you do that, it immediately makes the power visible, whether it's normally visible or not. Although you can spend an extra weird to make it invisible again. Okay, and victory points and weird can be stored in a bank your character has, and this goes up as you level. At first level, they can store 5 points in their bank. And when you store those points, they're stored until you've used them. So at the beginning of your next turn, any victory points you have left over from the previous turn, either if you can't bank them, they go away. So the bank is very nice because it allows you to keep those points. The next thing I want to touch on is the initiative. And basically, what happens is the first thing you decide is, does somebody in the party have an edge in initiative, something that gives them an edge? If they do, this person is going to go first. Once he has completed his action, he hands it off to another person. Once that person has completed their action, they hand it off to somebody else. And it goes through the whole party this way. The GM has the option at any point to do an interrupt. And if he does this interrupt, it allows his, NPCs to act, and he gives a weird point immediately to the person that was interrupted. Wait a minute, was it a weird point or victory point? I'll have to look that up because my mind just went blank for a moment. Victory point? Okay, yes, gives a victory point to the person that was interrupted. I knew that didn't sound right. And once the interrupt is finished, once the NPC has gone, it goes back to the person who was interrupted.
So you want to talk about the core mechanic, how that works with the dice rolling and VP and all that?
Did I not just cover that a moment ago?
Well, I know you were talking about the different things you can do with VP, but
Yes, that you the roll determined your victory points.
Mhm. So one of the things I
Okay.
noticed that is a change from earlier editions is what they are doing now is instead of applying modifiers to your goal usually for difficulty, that's captured in the form of resistance. So it's where a task may have been called hard or demanding before, and the game master might have applied a -4 or -6 or something to your roll. Now, instead of doing that, your goal remains the same, but you have to earn at least a certain minimum number of victory points. So they've switched it around. They've taken it off the bottom instead of off the top. One thing that will mean, though, is that I know at least in Robert's game and in a number of other games that I've played in, that often the game master would not apply difficulty penalties unless something is really difficult, simply because it tends to be assumed that the difficulty is captured by the necessity for you to roll in the first place, with there being some chance of failure. This is going to be adding difficulty for everything that you do. Unless a task is truly effortless, then you are always going to have a little bit less odds of success from your characteristic plus skill than you would have if you just took the whole goal number in full.
Oh, once again, if the game master doesn't feel you need to roll for it, he's not going to call for it.
Yes, of course. I'm only talking about rolls.
Okay.
So, whereas in the past, most of the time you would just roll. Now there's always going to be some accounting for difficulty if you're making any kind of roll whatsoever. So the way that players counteract that, of course, is by drawing from their bank or their cap if they don't have enough victory points to clear the difficulty, or if they want to have an extra impact.
Now, I will say that the player's vitality is much greater in this game, but it is also a little easier to die in this game. Because there's no longer any dice roll for weapon damage. The damage of the weapon is how much damage it's going to do if it hits. Oh, that reminds me of the other thing you can do with the victory points. You can, if you want, on melee weapons, spend victory points to lower the amount of damage you do, so you can get under a shield. I forgot that one a moment ago. But
and also increase your resistance.
yes. Your vitality now is your size level, which for human is 5, your vigor, your will, or is it wits, and your level, which in general is averaging about 17 to 20 for this party, I believe.
Yeah, it's the fortitude stat of each category:
Yes.
body, mind, and spirit. So
Yes.
yeah, it's your size plus your endurance plus your will plus your faith.
Okay, that was
plus
it.
your level. Yeah.
As I said, I did not go as much into the character creation as they did. Now, on the flip side of that, if you have a critical hit, it ignores all resistance. So all that damage is going to bypass armor directly to the body.
And are crits still if you roll exactly your goal number?
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's,
also armor is less effective in general in keeping you safe. It'll help, but it's not going to
Yep.
be enough on its own.
yeah, armor provides your physical resistance stat.
Right. Since
You
we're
have
taking victory points from the actual roll itself,
yes.
rather than reduced victory points depending on your roll, rolls on average are going to generate a lot more VP than your armor is going to be able to handle. If you're wearing an energy shield, then it might be able to block it. But other than that, and actually, I don't believe any of our characters are wearing energy shields. But other than that, as long
Well,
as your attacker's roll clears the minimum VP required to get through your resistance on your armor, your body resistance, as it's called,
once again,
they
you
will
can
hit.
use victory points to increase your own resistance.
Yes, you can. So, like I said, it's going to be a lot more intensive on you using your victory points to protect yourself. Your armor's not going to do it all for you. It's going to help a little bit, but it's not going to be enough by itself. Usually, it will be required to dodge if you really want to keep yourself safe, um, or if you have enough VP banked, or in your cash to where you can just increase your body resistance. Then you may be able to do it that way.
Let's see, was there anything else that I need to touch on real quick?
Perhaps the abilities of the character as described in the rules are, we have the attributes,
Mm.
the same attributes
Okay,
we've had.
you have the
Skills.
attributes, you have your skills. Skills are now just skills. There's no longer natural and learned. They all start at 3, except unless they're restricted. You have capabilities, which, as I understand, the capability just means you have the ability to understand something, like, for example, the tech level abilities.
Correct. Without the capability, you have an unfavorable.
Well, without the ability, you can still use the item, but you have no knowledge of the underlying principles and the favorable and unfavorable rolls. Thank you. That was what I was looking for. If you have something going on that makes it very favorable for your character to do something, you get to roll 2 20-sided dice and take the better of the 2 results. This is usually going to be from a perk or a special circumstance or something. On the flip side, the unfavorable rolls, which is for example, you're using a tech item that you don't have the proper tech for. You roll 2 20-sided dice and you take the least favorable roll. And if you have something that gives you an unfavorable roll and something that gives you a favorable roll, they cancel out to be a normal roll. Thank you. That is what I was looking for, was those rolls right there. Now, for this game, I took a adventure that I designed back in my first edition days, actually in my very first campaign. I've used it in 3 of my 4 campaigns at this point, and I wanted to see how well it would translate into the new edition, which I am very happy to say it was no problem at all transferring it over. And on that note, it is about 8:45, and we could probably go ahead and start on the first adventure, unless there are any questions that people would like to ask before we get started. And I'll give it a moment for the stream to catch up with questions. Did any of my players want to add anything?
I'm sorry, do you think your players want to what?
Add anything while we were waiting a moment for questions.
Maybe the mechanic for for technosis, which is
Yes.
personally
Okay.
one of my favorite things.
Okay. Technosis is basically their answer to you have too much technology on you, so that characters don't overload with high-tech items. Your is it your level plays into that?
Yes, only your level.
Okay, only your level. If you have more high-tech devices on you, this is above tech level 4, than your level, and you use one of them and you have a critical fail.
No, critical hit.
Oh, critical hit? Okay. Critical hit. As I said, they were more into the character end of this than I was. And you have a critical hit, then you will suffer a compulsion that is related to that kind of a tech device. If it's a weapon, you may find you have a compulsion to use the weapon. If it is
if it's an engineer tool, you'd be compelled to make stuff.
yes. So basically, each type of an item has a compulsion that goes with it. And it will be interesting to see those in play. Don't get your hopes up too much. I'm a developer, not an artist. Okay. Functional is functional. That's all I usually care about. Okay. Excuse me. Our party is a group of young individuals or youngish individuals just starting out their climb up the ladder of success. The rules talk about how to choose the leader for the party. And generally for a noble campaign, the noble's going to be in charge. For a guild, it's going to be the guilder. For a church person, it'll be whoever the church is in charge. And I chose the patron campaign. And this is going to allow different people to be in charge for different kinds of missions. So, if they're dealing with nobles, our Vorox is probably going to be in charge, although that will be interesting. Yes. If it's a stealth infiltration mission, our thief will be in charge. So this is kind of how it's set up. I think for combat and military missions, we'll go for the Brother Battle. I mean, combat and church missions. Sorry. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you generally actually do not want this specific Vorox for your combat missions.
Yes. Okay, so as it is, each of y'all have received an invitation through either a mentor or a trusted individual. Oh, let me back up just one moment. You are all currently on Byzantium Secondus. This is where we're starting. You have received an invitation to a party that is being held by Larissa Hawkwood. The invitation says that there's an individual at the party that is requesting your presence for a discrete matter. The party is being held at the Hawkwood Manse. You know that Larissa is currently the individual in charge of the Hawkwood social engagements. Generally, her parties bring in a much higher strata of society than you individuals. So this is kind of an honor in and of itself just to be asked to the party.
I am extremely honored.
Okay.
Do we know each other before the party.
I believe that you and Loren had come up with a possible way that you were casual acquaintances,
Yeah.
but other than that, no.
Okay.
Yes, so just for everybody, so everyone knows, our two characters have had some dealings together in the recent past. We have done some odd jobs together where my
Where a
character,
thief,
who's a yeah,
where the thief needed a tech specialist.
exactly, where my character, who is a independent thief, and being an independent thief means that he's got to stay one step ahead of factions like the Scravers and other things.
Everybody.
Yeah. He had some need for a skilled technician in at least a couple of cases, and so through probably the black market, he managed to get in touch with Addie's character Noelani, who calls herself Quicksilver, and they became friends and acquaintances who have had some experiences for mutual gain.
Now, am I correct at this point that Quicksilver is part of the Engineers Guild?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it is the master of the local guild that says that he would like you to go and see what can be done to help this person that is a friend of his.
Okay.
The brother Apprentice Ulisses, your mentor in Brother Battle, says that an old friend of his needs some assistance, and he would like you to go and render whatever you can. He believes that there will be others involved in helping.
Very well. I'll do as you say, Miley.
Maverin's local fence says that an individual that he has helped with some under the table jobs before needs some assistance, and he's nominated him to go to this party and meet with the person and help them out.
All right, so Maven, always being the cautious type, will have already made sure that that this was relatively safe, sort of to dig up any details he could on Larissa before going there.
Well,
but
let me
he
put it this way:
trusts his fence.
Larissa does not want any kind of a scene with a thief in her parties. So it is unlikely that anybody's going to be arresting you at the party.
Right.
That would just bring the whole tone
And
of her party down.
Exactly. And so Maven, goes by, he basically makes his living as if he's a reclaimer. That's his official or would
Cover.
be cover. Yeah. Although of course he is actually a thief. So
for Quicksilver, the guild says, I already covered Quicksilver, didn't I? Did I cover everybody?
yeah, I think it's the
Okay.
Vorox.
Yep.
The Vorox. Okay. Actually, the noble whose retinue you've been following for a little while is going to the party, and he tells you that there is somebody there that could use some untraditional experienced individuals, is how he puts it.
Then I would be perfect.
And he looks kind of relieved when you say that. Actually, he looks very relieved when you say that. The party is a glittering affair. There are a couple of bishops. There's Orthodox. There's there's a Brother Battle bishop. There's even an eschatonic bishop. There's members of all the noble houses. You think Count is probably the lowest rank you notice among them, other than Vox. Vaughn, sorry. There are several very wealthy-looking guildsmen. Most of them, from the wealth they're displaying, could probably buy any one of you several times over. The guards, with the exception of Vaughn, kind of look at in a little bit of distaste at letting any of you in. You know, you don't really match the profile of the people here. The servants really ignore you. They're taking care of the higher echelon people. They're not going to tell you no, you can't have a drink, but unless you're like grabbing it off the tray as they go by, they're not stopping for you. Does anybody try to do anything in particular while you're waiting to find out who is meeting with you?
Well, Ulysses will arrive and he will feel very awkward because he's never been in a party before. And he'll probably just stay in the corner, just watching everybody and how this can happen, all this lavishness of and
Okay.
partying and fashion.
Quicksilver will be very pleased with herself that she remembered to wash her face before coming to the party. She will twist her nose at the little fluted champagne glasses that are being passed around and search for something that's got more of a kick.
Okay. How much will she be drinking?
Not a lot, but
Not a lot.
But she's a bit nervous, so she will be drinking.
Okay. After about an hour and a half, servants come by each of you and offer to take you to a more secluded room where somebody is waiting for you.
Okay.
Of course, I would be happy to go.
Okay. So you all arrive outside the door of this room with the servants. They wait until they have you all together. And the more senior of the servants opens the door and says, "Madam, they're here." Bows and then gestures for y'all to enter. There is an elderly lady in here. She wears both the crest of the Hawkwoods and the Orthodox symbol. And she says, "Welcome. Please come in. Have a seat."
Sir Vaughn will enter the room and he will approach and drop to, technically it's an elbow of his middle set of legs, and bow deeply before the lady. "My lady, it is a pleasure."
"Thank you. I have not gone by lady for many years. I am a deaconess. Please come in, sit. And while I am a deacon of the church, I still have some ties with the Hawkwoods. Actually, my ties tend to be along the lines of the more flamboyant and willful get sent to me for polish. Kind
So
of with the
you're the
What's that?
headmistress.
No, I'm a threat. You see, the threat is the implication that if they don't get their polish from me to serve the house, they will be serving me in the church.
Oh my God.
Yes. You'd be surprised how many of these wayward children straighten up very quickly after 6 months of tutelage by myself. And she has a very grim smile. As it is, yes, if y'all want to go ahead and give visual description of your characters, please do. And then I will continue with her. let's start with Maven.
Oh, with Maven?
Yeah, Maven.
Okay.
Sorry.
Uh,
I will stumble over y'all's names for a while because I'm used to the other game. Go ahead.
No problem. So Maven is dressed in relatively common-looking clothes, although his style seems to be sort of more the al-Malik style, specifically Istakir. He does have a headscarf that he wears over his neck. He's got a cloak. It's not a fancy cloak. It's just a very plain gray cloak with the hood down. He's got a leather jerkin underneath it, a backpack with it. He tends to sort of stay in the background. He clearly is not used to a party setting like this. So but he seems to be observing everyone very carefully.
Okay. Apprentice Ulisses.
Almost 2 meters tall, strong military haircut, perfect shave, and half-plate armor, plus steel, a sword in his hilt with 2 guns, and always in a military posture and looking straight into nothing, waiting for orders to happen, basically.
Okay. Quicksilver.
Quicksilver is an Ur-Obun female. She's got her head shaved because it's always, if it's not shaved, it tends to get dirty. She got her name because of her stigma. Most Ur-Obun have eyes that are black, but her eyes are solid silver, which is the source of her name. She's about average height for an Ur-Obun, but very thin.
Which they tend to be very thin by human standards to start with, so she's extremely thin.
Yes.
Okay.
She's got an elaborate bracer on her hand, but other than that, nothing special. Her clothes for this occasion, they're clean, and that's not something that happens too often. They're
Okay.
clean but shabby.
Okay. And Vaughn. Sir Vaughn.
Sir Vaughn. Well, of course, the first thing that you will notice about Sir Vaughn is that he is a Vorox. He is walking around in the relatively common sort of centaur mode, where his middle set of arms are functioning as legs. So he's got 4 down and 2 up. He is wearing a nicely tailored set of breeches, boots that come up to the knees. They've got the nice flaps down, very swashbuckling kind of boots. He has a nice tunic. It's dark. He has a dueling cloak over his right shoulder. It's the kind that you can sort of snap off very easily to use as a fencer. The mark marks him as a member of the Torero School of Fencing. On his right hip is
Perfect.
a fairly glittering rapier. You notice that he does have 1 claw. It is his top left pinky. And what you can see of his fur, it's mostly gray, except as you reach the ends of extremities around his face and the lower arms and legs, it goes to black.
Okay.
And he has big, happy amber eyes. And of course, huge, terrifying teeth that he is smiling at everyone with.
As it is, your hostess does not show any concern for your teeth. She's like, yes, as it is, I currently am hosting a young lady, Tiffany St. Clair Hawkwood. It seems that she fancies herself in love with a Ducados young man. And her family has arranged for her to marry another Hawkwood. She was sent to me until the final arrangements for the marriage could be made. They wanted to ensure that she would stay put. Her Ducados friend showed up on Byzantium about a month ago and has been doing his damnedest to meet with her. Yesterday afternoon, she did not arrive for her lessons. When her rooms were checked on, she was not there. So far, my usual household servants have been unable to find her. We would like her found discreetly and returned home, preferably without the Ducados in tow. I am prepared to cover reasonable expenses and offer each of you 50 firebirds for her return. And, my goodwill, which is not inconsiderable.
So basically, it's a kidnap job.
No, miss. It is a reverse kidnapping.
We have no proof of kidnapping.
Oh, no, I misspoke. You're paying us to kidnap her.
No. I am paying you to return her to her proper place.
Against her will, probably. That's kidnap where I come from. Not that it's a problem, but
let me say that I will be relying on your discretion in this matter.
Obviously.
Of course.
Maven sort of gives a sideways look at Noelani, sort of raising a brow at her.
What? It's important to get the client's wishes. It's important the client expresses wishes clearly. This way, we know what sort of a job we're taking.
Rules of engagement, Your Grace.
Don't kill the target. Don't kill the lady. Don't kill Tiffany. But
As
other than that,
as a brother battle, I will trust you to use your own judgment.
Yeah.
Understood, Your Grace.
And keep it low key. No mass casualties.
We do not kill without the need.
May I ask, what measures have your own servants already taken so we can avoid wasting our time?
Well, they have searched her room, which was to no avail. I believe that her fiance is out searching for her. They questioned, the guards who did not see her exit. They have checked the Agora and several other places that she has, shall we say, lingered in when she was out. Which I can provide you a list of those if you would like.
Please.
Okay.
Does she know about anybody here on planet?
Well, she has been taking class with some other individuals. The names of the individuals are on this data pad along with the locations that she tended to frequent, if you're being charitable. Always with a proper chaperone. So
Maven will be taking a look at the data pad while she's speaking.
As I said, I believe that her fiance is out looking for her, although he has not checked in many hours. Feel free to, check her room if you wish. Our servants can show you to it. Guards will be available for you to question anything that you need. As I said,
Are you certain she hasn't left the planet?
Of that, I am fairly certain. Even if she has, as I said, I will pay reasonable expenses.
So what all
Okay.
kinds of information is on this data pad that I'm looking at?
There's a description of the young lady, of the Ducados noble,
Mhm.
Sir Reginald von Clock. There is...
Can you type that out for us?
Yes, that is a mouthful.
Is it Reginald or Reginald?
Reginald.
Okay.
Yes, he does go by a unique variant on that name.
Okay.
There is the name of her fiance, Sir Doyle. I hope I spelled that right. Hawkwood.
Okay.
And there's a little bit of information about the fact that he's from a prominent family on Lemminkainen.
Okay.
There
How much?
is...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
How much info is about? I'm sorry. Who is it that's missing? What's her name again?
Tiffany. Tiffany
Tiffany?
Sinclair.
Okay. How much information on the data pad is there about Tiffany, like her habits, places she likes to go, background,
That's
known
where
associates?
that's where she was very distastefully saying the places that she liked to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that she tarried. That's how she put it.
Mm-hmm. Is there a list of her known acquaintances other than these obvious ones?
Yes.
Okay.
There are 2 or 3 young ladies that are listed.
Young ladies. So they are other nobles then.
Yes.
Okay. Does she
Do
seem like she had a very insulated life, or did she get around a bit in the marketplace, or?
It does reference that she tried several times to elude her chaperones, but was unable to.
Okay, so they have kept her pretty sheltered.
As sheltered as they could.
Right. Okay, so that would
Huh.
limit her acquaintances then.
Yes.
Okay.
Honestly, do you think that this lady before you is going to let her hang around with anybody that she doesn't want her to?
No, I really don't think so.
Well, it's not so much about what they would let her do as what she has known to do with or without their approval.
I think our first step is to take a look at the ladies at Tiffany's room. There might be something that was missed there.
Allers looks at the Vorox, says,
Alaris does.
oh, sorry.
Wrong game.
Sorry. That's like become second nature to me at this point.
Yes.
Maven looks at the Vorox. And I take it we've heard each other's names at this point, right? When we were each
Yes.
being okay. This is Sir Vaughn, is it?
Yes, Sir Vaughn.
Have you ever searched for a missing person before?
I cannot say that I have.
How about you, Apprentice?
A few times.
And then he looks over at Quicksilver.
The less said, the better.
Probably responsible for missing persons.
Not too often, no.
Okay. She says, well,
But
I will...
hey, we have a Vorox. He might be able to sniff her out.
I will leave you with the data pad. She hands you a small bag of Firebirds. This should cover any initial expenses.
Quicksilver snatches it.
She hands each of us a separate bag, or
Oh, she has one for the party for the expenses.
and to whom does she hand it? The noble?
Well, she was handing it towards Sir Vaughn.
That's what I would thought.
But if Quicksilver grabs it, she's not going to dispute it.
Well, Sir Vaughn might. I don't know. Like
Sir Vaughn doesn't usually do things quickly. He once scratched somebody that way, and it was a bad time. So he was moving at a little bit of a more sedate pace.
I opened the pouch and actually in front of her and count the coins.
It looks like there's about 50 Firebirds in it.
Oh, nice. I got the bonus.
about 50.
Well, he does a quick count. It's not...
Right.
She arches one eye at the Uban and says, young man,
It's a woman.
young woman,
Yeah.
do not cross me.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Very
You're-
well. The money that you have is for expenses.
Yeah, of course. We will, and I will ensure that every penny of it is spent for a good cause. Don't worry, Deaconess. We'll get Tiffany back, and hopefully with minimal noise about it.
Very well. I must return to the party and my duties.
Maven takes a peek at the Firebirds that are in, and he says, one moment, if you will.
Yes.
With all due respect, we may require more than this to cover the kinds of expenses it's going to take to track down someone who's missing.
I expect so. And I am reachable if you need more.
Do you perhaps have some squawkers you can provide us to reach you from a distance if need be?
A very sensible young man. I can loan you a squawker
You know, it's,
with the instructions on how to reach me through it.
thank you.
She pulls out a squawker. She was obviously waiting for somebody to ask for it. And sets it down on the table.
She's testing us. He takes the squawker. He'll let Noelani keep the bag.
Is there any else, gentlemen? Lady?
When she says lady, Noelani looks behind her.
Maven smirks.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I am
Your Grace.
Apprentice. And she hobbles out of the room on her cane, which looks very stout, by the way.
That's the whooping cane. Sir Vaughn
bows
as she stands.
She inclines her head at Sir Vaughn.
Waits until she's passed before rising again.
Maven just inclines his head. No actual bow.
Okay. She kind of smirks in Maven's direction as she passes, but
Noelani doesn't pay her any attention.
You've got the whole scale of deference from greatest to least.
Noelani didn't kick her. She feels mildly virtuous with that.
Okay. So, hold on just a second. Hey, Rainey. Can you hold it down just a little bit? Okay. Sorry, my daughter was in the background.
No problem.
Okay.
Having one's daughter be overheard is not unknown to this group.
At least she wasn't standing right beside me going poke Netflix.
Looking at you, Andrew.
Okay.
That
So
was a princess, Loren. That's what we were told. And I believed it. Did you see the princess dress? I saw the princess dress.
As far as I'm concerned, that's what makes a princess. That's as far as I know.
okay, so you have on the data pad the list of the guards that were on duty, the staff that was on duty, where her room is, where the fiance's room is, the two known hangouts of the beloved Ducados gentleman, her haunts, the young ladies that she was hanging out with, and that's pretty much what you've got on the data pad.
All right.
Well then, let's start at her room. I believe that's the best place to start.
There is a servant waiting at the door.
Just as soon as I pass another and get another glass of the good stuff, and I'll be on my way.
The servant kind of sighs at that remark.
Go easy
What?
on the drinks, Noelani.
Yeah, Noelani fills up her flask. Grabs the bottle, fills her flask, and okay, and walks out of the party with a glass of drink.
Okay.
A glass full of drink.
He escorts you to, I guess you would call it the, it's still part of the manor, but it's a smaller set of buildings kind of behind it. You know, I guess you would say guest area for the guests they didn't really want mingling with everybody else.
All right.
Tiffany's rooms are pretty expansive still. You know, there's a large bedroom, there's a sitting room, there's a private dining room, there's a bathing room. It does not look like much has been disturbed in here, though. Or if it has, somebody came in and cleaned it up.
Does the bed look slept in?
No. But once again, a servant probably came in and made the bed if it had been at any point.
You drones.
Ulisses will start searching for the windows to see if it was broken or been fixed, or the door was forced entry or something like that.
Okay, make an observation roll.
Okay, first roll denied.
Yes.
Okay, I'm really bad at this. So it's going to be a 6. Oh, where's my cheat sheet? Oh, there you go.
In our Saturday night game, I run a very narrative campaign and don't have a whole lot of rolls. Okay, you don't think anything has been tampered with in the way of windows or doors.
Perfect.
As I was going to say, that I think in this game I will call for a few more rolls just to highlight the system than I actually call for in our regular game. Okay.
Maven, who is constantly observant, is going to just search the entire room, and he doesn't have anything in particular that he's looking for, because he's trying to just sort of keep his eyes open for anything out of the ordinary, anything that happens to catch his attention.
Okay, that is going to be a hard roll. So you will
Okay.
need to succeed with at least 4 victory points.
Okay. So perception plus observe.
Okay.
With 2 to spare.
Yes.
Which you bank.
Yes. Well, it's in the cash for now. We'll see.
Yes. Well, actually, you can put them in the bank and pull them out of the bank at any time.
Well, that's true. So I guess those get banked then.
Okay.
So my bank now has 2 VP.
Yes. First level players do have 5 points worth of bank. It goes up by 5 every other level.
Right, as far as the capacity.
Yes. The room seems pretty, standard. You don't really find much out of place.
Okay.
You do see that there's a set of old-fashioned bound books on the desk. And for the 5, the spines are very dusty.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth one, in which the title is "The Proper Decorum for a Young Hawkwood Lass." It actually does say lass. Doesn't seem to have any dust on it at all.
Okay. What are the names of the other books?
The first one is A History of the Arts, A Noble Pursuit. There is one on the care and maintaining of a manse. There is one that is on economics, and one that is on the breeding of animals.
So clearly she has no interest in those subjects, but she does have an interest in the proper decorum of a Hawkwood noble. He's going to take that book, and by the way, he's got gloved hands in case that makes any difference whatsoever. He always wears gloves. He's going to flip through the book, see if anything catches his eye. Footnotes, anything written on the pages.
Okay. Make another perception check.
All right. What's the resistance on this?
Once again, 4.
Okay.
Are we still streaming?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I flipped back to it and it said there was a network error. Please try again. So.
Oh, that's going to be on your end. You would need to refresh the stream.
Okay, I was just wondering.
So on that one, I bank 4 VP. So, well, I can't bank them all. So I bank 3. So I've got a full bank now.
Okay.
That didn't take long. So that's good. It's a good start.
When you open the book, you know how you'll open a book and the spine, there'll be that little opening kind of area. You actually realize there is something stuck in there.
Oh. He'll take a peek to see what it is.
It looks like a folded, tightly folded piece of paper.
He'll carefully pull that out.
Okay. The paper says that he misses her, that he ran into the supposed fiancé and was beaten in a very un-Hawkwood-like way. He has survived, although he fears that he might have a broken rib or 2.
This is the Ducados, right?
It appears to be.
Right.
The signature at the bottom is his signature.
Okay.
He has arranged a place to shelter and can meet her at the winery that he saw her at the other day.
I'll also bring it to Noelani's attention and the others if they're all in relatively the same place.
Servan has politely remained outside the ladies' room, as it would be inappropriate for him to interfere with her chambers.
Okay, I assume the apprentice is there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's showing it to Noelani and the apprentice.
Do you think that she might have escaped with him? With this Decados Lord?
Hold on before I answer that. Robert, can you note in Discord again the location where it said meet me?
Okay, hold on a second.
Just because I think we're going to refer back to this, and it would be nice to have it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Remember, my typing skills are not the best in the world.
Not a problem. All right, so Maven says it's hard to say, but it would appear that that would be the first place to look to gain a lead.
Are there any cameras around this building?
There, make a observation roll, a tech and observation roll. Oh, tech and
No tech.
no tech.
Perception and observe.
Oh, perception. Okay, perception.
I think what you might be thinking of, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you're thinking depending on his tech capabilities, that will determine the resistance.
Okay, that might be. I've yeah, like you with your character name a while ago. It's
Yeah,
can be
I
easy
know.
to slip into our other games sometimes.
I know, it's going to take some adjustment. That's just me
Okay.
guessing, by the way, not me trying to
Yes.
tell you what to do. But
Yes, I understand. Yeah,
yeah.
that's probably going to be the way I needed to go with that.
Okay.
For
Okay.
You have
So
Tech
span-
7, right, Addy? Adi?
it's not. There is no attribute called tech.
No. Your capabilities. You've got
Yes.
Yeah,
capability
Tech 7.
Tech 7. Right.
So,
Well, that will help you in recognizing.
Anything Tech 7 or below. Yeah.
Yes. If you didn't have it, it would be an unfavorable roll.
no.
Okay.
Did she say anything about how she was looking for cameras, or is she just doing that on her own?
No, I'm just doing it on my own.
Okay.
If they have any cameras up, they are much better disguised than you expected.
Okay.
Maven's just going to assume that there are cameras somewhere that we're being observed. He's not even going to he's not even going to bother because he just assumes we're in a Hawkwood manse. We're being surveyed. Nothing we do in here is going to be kept secret.
No, that wasn't my question. My Maven's. Oh, Maven.
I'm just saying for Maven.
Noelani's line of thought was maybe we could watch the young lady as she left. Did she take anything? Did she do anything?
It'd be interesting if they had that and didn't provide us with that from the get-go.
Unless it's still part of the test.
Mm-hmm.
Ulysses will go outside and report to Sir Vaughn what they just found. My lord.
Please, apprentice. Servan is enough.
Understood, my lord. It seems that the mistress has been gone to somewhere and she had an affair with another one.
Yes, that was in the Deaconess's report on the information.
And it seems that it's true.
That is, it is tragic that such a young person would make such an inadvisable life decision. Perhaps we can ask around.
Most
Maven
definitely, sir.
As Maven and Noelani are exiting the room, which I assume we are, correct me if I'm wrong, Adi.
No,
Okay.
you're not wrong.
He'll turn to her and say, "I think we better speak to the guard staff."
Yeah,
It's fairly easy to find a guardsman because they are kind of keeping an eye on y'all while y'all are in here.
All right.
Noelani is making a point not to shove her hands in her pockets so they wouldn't think she stole something.
All right. He'll say, "Do you happen to know who was on duty the night that Mistress Tiffany disappeared? Was it the night or was it day?
It was actually late afternoon.
The day, then."
Yes. He says, "Come with me,"
He follows him.
and he actually
He waits the
goes
others to follow him too.
you know, he goes to a side door of the main compound, which actually leads to a set of stairs taking you down into a basement area where there are several banks of monitors and guards, watching what is going on in the party and around the state.
Mm-hmm. Maven sort of nods knowingly, having expected something like this.
He says, "Captain, sir, they wish to speak with you." And a gentleman wearing, a captain's uniform for the Royal Guard, well, for the House Guard, comes over and says, "Yes."
Maven nods. Says, "Captain, we'd like to know who was on duty the night that Mistress Tiffany disappeared. We've been tasked with investigating the issue by..."
I am aware.
Okay.
Believe me, I am aware. Over multiple strenuous objections, I am aware. But
Maven
as it
nods.
happens, he pulls up the roster and he says, "All except for one have been accounted for in their rounds. The one was found unconscious by one of the rear gates. And as it happens, the security cameras on that gate malfunctioned about the same time we lost contact with him."
Malfunctioned.
Yes.
Oh,
What sort of malfunction?
He pulls out a disc and goes over to one of the monitors and puts the disc in, and you can see the guard, standing at the gate. And then suddenly it's, just this crackling of static, and it comes back, and the guard is laying at the gate, and the gate is open.
How long is the crackle of static in seconds?
It actually lasts about a minute.
About a minute.
Yes.
So it does seem like time hasn't been altered, but it seems like just something was...
can I determine what exactly caused the camera to malfunction?
You can attempt it. That is going to be a difficulty 8.
Okay, is it the tech redemption or
Yes, that would be tech redemption.
tech redemption and wit, or
Yeah, we'll go with wits on this one.
So she's actually going to that camera?
Well, going to the camera itself would
First-
make it a difficulty 6.
first I'll look at the footage, and then I'll go with check the camera itself.
Maven sort of leans into Noelani. Says, "Device capable of having an effect like that on a security camera?"
Yeah, I was thinking I'm way ahead of you. Oh, that's a critical.
Okay.
Ooh. You're not
It-
overloaded, are you? Oh, it doesn't matter. You're not using a tech device.
Yeah.
And I'm not overloaded, surprisingly.
Amazing. The engineer is not overloaded.
Engineers have it. Just a small remark regarding the rules. Engineers, or actually tech redeemers, have a perk that allows them to not just use technology but understand it. And once you understand technology, it no longer affects you. It doesn't cause you to be. It doesn't
Tech
affect your
Genesis?
gnosis.
Because
Okay.
you know how it works.
Yeah.
Does that work for a certain number of pieces of technology, or
Nope. As long as the tech level is 6 or lower. I mean,
If you
it's
have the
an
perk.
increasing. You have to take multiple levels of perks.
Okay.
But Quicksilver, as long as it's tech level 6 or lower, she's not affected by Technosis.
Oh, so
Okay.
you do have that that tech, that perk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Took it twice.
Okay.
It's called Comprehend Tech.
Right.
Okay. Your best guess is that something caused a feedback overload into the camera and disrupted its ability to broadcast.
If I look at the camera, can I get more information as to what it was?
Possibly.
Okay. I'd like to see the camera, if it's okay with you. Maybe even take it apart.
The captain says, "Well, you will need to check with your order on that. We had it dismounted and replaced and sent to the local engineers to see what they could determine on it."
Okay. No problem.
Who was the guard who was rendered unconscious?
Timothy Coombs?
Where is he now?
Hold on. He is in the infirmary.
How was he rendered unconscious?
We don't know.
Well,
And
he
what
has a
happened?
fracture on the back of his skull and had a concussion.
Ah, the classic way.
Can we speak with him?
This way.
Wallace?
And he escorts you to the infirmary, which is also in the basement.
Okay.
There's only one individual in the infirmary other than the Amalthian that is taking care of him. You know, he's got some pretty thick bandages on his head. He's got a black eye. He's not looking too happy.
Black eye too.
Yeah. I've actually had that happen in real life where I was hit in the back of the head. It got a black eye. It sucked. But
Mr. Coombs, I presume.
yes. And he looks up and says, "Oh, sir," and tries to salute as he sees the captain. And the captain's like, "You are not on duty. Relax. Rest."
Sure look like you've seen better days. He's a yeoman too, right? I assume.
Yeah. Well, he's house guard.
Right, but yeah. Okay.
It's
Well, he's not a yeoman then. He's not
Yeah.
he's a householder.
Yes, he's
a freeman though.
he's a freeman who is attached to the household.
Right.
He said, "You can say that again, Governor."
You remember anything about what happened?
"Oh, I was on duty and heard the camera up above me start, sparking. As I looked up, something hit me in the back of the head."
Did you hear anything else besides the camera sparking before that happened?
That's curious because I'm usually pretty good at hearing things, but it was like there was no sound.
No sound.
No sound.
That's quite curious.
When you say no sound, do you mean you weren't even hearing ambient sounds around you?
I don't recall hearing any, but the young miss there that's taking care of me says that this kind of a blow can scramble, the memories just before it.
Did it seem like you were deafened for a moment?
Oh, as I said, I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember other sounds, but it's all kind of fuzzy, if you know what I mean.
Maven turns to Noelani and says, "Do you know of any device capable of dampening sound?"
In theory, I could rig something up, but it wouldn't be small or portable or worth it. Yeah, no offense, but I just shoot him with a silencer. Why bother with muting the sound?
Because it's someone that did not want to get noticed, obviously. Leaving a blood trail would even call further the authorities.
How long
It's
have you...
trying to be discreet. The escape, kidnap, whatever.
How long have you been a guard, Mr. Coombs?
9 years.
That's a long time.
I got 2 more years till my 10.
In your 9 years, what would you say it would take for somebody to sneak up on you like that?
I wouldn't have thought it possible, sir. I had many a person try to sneak up, over the course. At the beginning, it'd be other guards testing to see if I was, keeping awake.
Ever had a break-in?
Not at my gate, sir. There have been 1 or 2 lords that, their activities required the use of my gate. Not allowed to elaborate on that, you understand?
Of course.
But they always, let their intentions be known.
I see.
That young lady that was staying in the guest house tried to get out that way once, but I didn't let her. We were explicitly told not to let her out. Not without her holiness, at least.
By the way, did they find anything on him? A small metal dart or something like that?
No, he suffered a concussion to the back of his head.
Yeah, I know.
The Amalthean says that there were no toxins in his system.
I wasn't talking toxins, I was talking about shock.
Well,
one device that would be able to fry the camera and render this one unconscious.
Well, there was no electrical burns on his person. There is a 2-inch crack in the back of his skull, which is healing nicely at this point. It is possible he suffered a little bit of bruising to the brain. We are very lucky that there's no swelling. We are actually very lucky that he is coherent.
What would it take to cause a crack like that in your experience, sister?
Oh, a heavy club. The butt of a gun could possibly do it. Or a rifle. A rather large rock, but there are no contusions, no abrasions in the scalp that would indicate a rock.
So we're talking about a weapon.
That would be my experience.
He nods. Obviously a professional. It's not easy to knock someone out on the first try.
The captain grunts in agreement.
Is there any possibility that the assailant may have been some form of psychic?
The captain looks rather green at that and says, "We have not had any known psychics on ground recently." And he kind of stresses the known on that one.
Servan nods.
I take it you
Sure.
already ruled out any of the usual evidence, footprints, fingerprints.
We found no fingerprints at the scene. The footprints that we found, there was one set, looks like a male's boot. It was actually pretty deep. We suspect that she was carried out by somebody.
I see.
But the boot print itself is actually quite common to the current style of boot.
Yes, it would have been.
Another question.
Yes.
Where, if we may go to the site of the camera, what I want to see is where the guard was standing and where's the camera.
Okay.
If somebody could reach the camera without the guard knowing,
Right.
or would it have to be remote?
Right.
Well, you know from the angle of the view of the camera
Hmm.
that it was several feet above the guard.
Directly above?
No, a little bit to the side, so it had the view of the guard and the gate and kind of the surrounding area.
Meaning
Is there
out of reach.
is the camera out of reach? Is it, I don't know, next to a building where somebody could tamper with it from the inside, or
From the inside, no. From the roof, maybe, if they knew it was there.
Mhm. Let's go
Hey.
to the roof.
He has one of his men take you. He suggests that you go to the guard post first,
Yeah.
and then go to the roof.
Yeah, we want to see if we can recreate the scene.
Okay, you get to the guard post, and even knowing where the camera has to be, it is almost impossible to spot it.
And way above reach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is kind of hooked on an eave of the building and is camouflaged pretty well.
Nice. I appreciate good workmanship.
Oh, it's very obvious that they want to watch the estate without giving the appearance of watching the estate.
Hmm.
Okay.
Now to the roof.
Okay.
Is there anything to find there? Any
Make
sign
a
of
make a an observation roll.
observation? Nope.
Did you oh, doesn't matter. Never mind. Oh, by the way, how does accenting
did
work
bank.
in this system?
I did bank the.
Well, you didn't succeed though.
Right, I was
No, I
about to.
banked before when I rolled the critical.
I know.
Oh.
I was about to ask, like, if you could do anything with your VP to modify that, but I forgot that that's only
would
if
have-
you succeed. Yeah.
Well, you can declare that banked VP is using before the roll to increase your goal roll.
Right. If you do that.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
Oh,
How does accenting work in this system?
It's actually an optional rule,
Okay.
and you can accent up to your skill level as before.
And you spend a VP to do it, or?
I would have to look that up.
Okay.
At the moment, let's look that up in between this game and the next game.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
I don't
No
want to
problem.
take the time out to search for it.
Exactly. Right.
No problem.
But I do remember
Guys,
that
I
it was an
don't find
optional. Yeah.
I don't find anything on the roof.
Okay.
Maven, come here. Let's you look. You're the perceptive one.
Yeah, maybe it'll take a look at whatever she's showing him.
Okay.
Is she just showing him the camera? Is that all she's showing
Yeah,
him?
that's the camera, and I want to see if anybody tampered with it.
Well, this isn't the camera that was tampered
No,
with.
I know. If there are any signs of on the roof of somebody leaning over or doing something to the camera.
Mm,
Another thing, is there a camera watching this roof?
No.
No.
honestly, Noelani, at this point, I think our best lead is your own order. We want to see that camera.
Yeah, let's go to the engineers.
Okay, I think this might be a good place to break for this week.
Okay.
For the people watching, we usually break between 10 and 10:30. Adi is how many hours behind us?
No,
Ahead.
you're
For
not
me,
behind us. You're
Oh, ahead of us.
ahead.
What
Yeah.
time is it there for you, Adi?
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
And I have to be at work in 3 hours.
Okay, so we want to give Adi some time to rest before he has to be to work. Are you
I'm
working
glad
at
you're
home
able to
still?
work.
Yeah,
Are you-
from home, but yeah.
Okay.
Just to start
All right.
work.
So
Yeah.
the plan is to continue this next week, which we will continue to live stream.
Sounds good.
I want to thank everybody who watched. Looks like we're down to
Absolutely.
7 people at this point.
Thank you, everyone who has been tuning in.
And we will see you next week.
Looks like we're off to a good start.
It does indeed. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
How did you guys feel about the adventure so far?
Oh, I mean, I've always loved your game mastering. So, I mean, I have a feeling you could take any system and I would enjoy it.
Even Dungeons and Dragons?
Even Dungeons and Dragons.
Especially Dungeons and Dragons. Let's put it this way. I do not like 2nd edition D&D. I would play 2nd edition for Robert.
Oh, I will have to keep that in mind then. But actually, there are other games I think this group would be better with than Dungeons and Dragons.